Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Rocker Skating Podcast. This is the recap of kind of day two and kind of day three of Lombardia Trophy. We're going to talk about the men's free skate that just happened, and then also the pairs free skate earlier today, and the women's free skate that happened yesterday. So we're going to start with the men because that is fresh on our minds. As expected, it was a battle of the world medalists, Ilya Malinin and Yuma Kagiyama 1-2. Ilya winning with a 306.65. Yuma Kagiyama 285.91. Nikolai Memola ended up something with a surprise bronze, 265.37, but he was heads above the rest of the competition for sure. No pun intended. Given the short and the free skate. Shun Sato had a brilliant free skate to vault himself from 8th to 4th place. And then Adam Xiaohim Fa ended up 5th. Very ambitious program, the most ambitious of this entire competition, but just couldn't get it clean. 3 falls to start, and that was sort of the nail in the coffin for that program. But really exciting set of programs here, and we'll talk about that more in our live show later today at 8 p.m. Eastern. But just some initial thoughts. I thought what was interesting to me was the difference between how I was watching Ilya and Yuma skating versus how I was watching Adam, because it at their peak, right? Ilya is going to have 6 or 7 quads. Yuma is going to have 4 or 5 quads, and Adam here was really skating with his biggest technical content, right? So did the quad lutz, the quad flip, I think 2 quad toes and a quad sow, and so the way that he entered this competition, his mindset was, hey, let's get everything out, and get it out there and in competition, versus both Ilya and Yuma saying, okay, well, we're not going to go full out technical yet, and kind of get our legs under us. Yuma, especially because he's got that injury that he's sort of dealing with. No cramps this time, which he had a cramp in the short program. But the way that I watched those 3 programs were so different, in the sense that with Adam, because he just led off with a fall in the quad lutz and then a fall in the flip and then a fall in the toe, like I was just kind of tense the entire time, like sort of not like on the edge of my seat tense, but just hoping there are no other mistakes kind of tense. Whereas with Ilya and Yuma, because they were both skating more conservatively than they generally would, I was able to sort of sit back and enjoy both of those programs, and they both skated very well. Yuma, this I was raving about this program earlier on in the season, and it continues to impress me, and just the way that this program builds the grandness of the music. This is, the quintessential Olympic season program, and it's so big, so magnificent, and he really just makes it. He makes it so well, and he is as big, if not bigger, than the music, which is so hard to do. So excited to continue to see this program evolve. Ilya's program, this is the first time we've seen it in competition and really in anything. And it was very much in his comfort zone, right? Both Yuma and Ilya are doing things that we have seen in some aspect before, but in a different and more kind of Olympic way. Ilya did a couple of things that were kind of variations on moves, on the way that his acrobatics and his sort of body movements are done. He landed a backflip on one foot, again, kind of like the short program. It was not a telegraphed backflip. It was just sort of integrated in the choreographic sequence that he was doing, and so I thought that was really really strong. I really thought that the spoken word aside, which was just usually not my cup of tea. But spoken word aside, I think that program, much like, but also in a different way than Yuma's, builds, and it gives you a beginning, middle, end, and a really strong conclusion. And I think it's also it's going to be a beautiful Olympic season program, and I like the direction that he's gone, and he and Shaylin Bourne are playing with his strengths. A lot of his strengths are the different ways that his body makes shapes, and the things that he can do that a lot of skaters have never practiced or can't do, and he really takes advantage of that. So that's Ilya and Yuma. For us to have a competition like this on September 14th of an Olympic season with the two of them battling it out is just it's an embarrassment of riches, as we have been saying already this season and will continue to say. A couple other things that just wanted to mention were, as we all know, Chinese Nebelhorn / Skate to Milano is having next week, and there are some skaters in this competition who will be there, and one of those is Kirilo Marsak, and he skated two of the best programs that he's ever skated in his career, and 2:23:20. I mean, you skate another couple programs like that or close to that, and that's an Olympic spot for you. Max Naumov, not obviously going to the Olympic or the qualifier event next week, but he was another highlight for me in the way that he skated that free skate. It is in this shirt. The program, the music itself is we've heard it before, but the arrangement of it was different, and I especially loved this very quiet piano part of the program, probably 3 minutes in before his triple Salchow, and he does this sequence of steps down the ice, and it's so quiet, beautiful, musical. Kind of reminds me of Chen Lu's step sequence from, or I don't even know if it was step sequence at that point, in her 1996, 95, 96 Rachmaninoff program. There's that similarity in the, like, a lot of stuff has happened, and now we have a break in the music, and we're just going to enjoy the edges. We're just going to enjoy the movements, and we're going to get back into the program. It was a beautiful part of that skate. All right, so that's the men. Let's go back to the pairs earlier this today, and it was Conti Machi with a 2:15.63 over Ghilardi Ambrosini 188.31, and Valesi Bidar 170.57. So top three ended up being exactly the same from the short and the free. And with Conti Machi, they skated generally very well. It was a good first program of the season. Had an issue with a lift at the end of the program, but they've got to be happy with that. One thing to note is that the pairs event at Lombardia Trophy is not a Challenger Series event. So the Challenger Series is only applicable for men, women, and dance here. That's just kind of how the schedule was done. There are only so many pairs, international pairs in the world, and much like in the Junior Grand Prix, where there are competitions that have pairs and don't have pairs, it's the same here, except because it's in Italy. They wanted to have that pairs competition because of the number of pairs that train over in Icelab. So the pairs event will not count for season's bests or any of those types of things. but Kantimachi probably very happy with where they ended up today. Okay, so the women yesterday was a really kind of a roller coaster, I would have to say. If you look at the standings after the short, right, the top, I think, six were separated by 2 points, less than 2 points. And those six ended up moving around quite a bit in the standings, right? So Ryon Sumiyoshi was the one who ended up winning it all, 209.59. Ami Nakai 206.04 with the silver. Sarah Everhart 199.91 with the bronze. Alyssa Liu, who was leading after the short program, dropped to fourth, 197.84. Lara Nucky Gutman 195.95. So Young Kim 190.12. So yes, 2 points separated the top six, and yes, there was a much bigger margin in the free skate, but those six generally skated very well, and it was really good to see very quality skating amongst these women in that last group, and it was a really good set of programs. Ryon Sumiyoshi, I just thought that she continues to give you this fantastic flow across the ice, and the way that she skates, you just feel like she's kind of speed skating across the ice the entire time. She did try her quad toe, didn't get it all the way around, and 2-footed stepped out of it, but everything else was well done. Two Lutzes at the end, just kind of racked up those bonus points in the second half, and it was a quality program. We have seen Ryon Sumiyoshi be very strong in the fall season, and especially when it comes to kind of this European swing. She has we've seen her do very well in these types of competitions, and then it sort of fizzles out at Japan Nationals. And so let's see how she can really put together a strong season here, because if she scores and continues to score things like 209 across this entire season, it's going to be she's going to make her case very well for an Olympic spot. And she's just easier said than done, but she just got to keep skating like this, and it's kind of there. Ami Nakai, I thought, was the surprise there, given this is her senior international debut. Did not hit the triple axel on either of her programs, but skated very strongly, and at a 206 to start here and a silver medal behind Ryon Sumiyoshi. That's incredibly strong. Sarah Everhart and Alyssa Liu. Sarah, if it weren't for the triple Zalcow at the end where she had a mistake, she would have broken 200. Alyssa, with what was interesting with Alyssa was the Lady Gaga program for me, similarly to Donna Summer last year, I am not yet convinced. And the Leve program in the short, I was already convinced. And it's interesting how she's starting the season again very similarly with a much stronger connection to her short program than her free skate. I thought her free skate maybe too many music cuts. And even when there were too many music cuts, the sort of the BPM of the songs that were chosen were very similar. So there was never really a ramp down or a build up. And it felt a little bit even throughout until you got to the step sequence at the end, which I think there's a lot to be said about how she built her Donna Summer program last year, where at the beginning it was sort of like she was sort of feeling it out, and then by the time nationals and worlds came around, it was like, okay, you get this program. And so my guess is there's going to be changes in the program during the season, much like there were last year with Donna Summer. The technical content here, I think, was the thing that hurt her the most, in the sense that she stuck with the program elements from last year, in a very similar order, actually the same order. I'm looking at it right now, it looks like. And so that means that the second half of the program, whereas with someone like a Rion Sumiyoshi, she put some of her biggest elements in the second half of her program. Alyssa's were not, right. Like, she had a double axel in the second half, and then what was supposed to have been a triple Lutz double axel double toe sequence, she popped, and so she lost a lot of base value points there, and that was a big difference in the way that she was scored. And so, you have to look at that and think, during the season, how is she going to potentially push the envelope like she did in the short when she backloaded the triple Lutz triple loop? I think part of this is she's not in stamina condition yet for that, and then part of it is, they're probably holding out for the triple axel to become consistent. And if so, that axle goes first, and then that second flip goes into the second half. So it changes the dynamic a little bit, and actually a lot, if that is the case. So that's the women and the men and the pairs free skate. As I mentioned, we, as in Michelle Ellis and I, will be back this evening at 8 p.m. Eastern for our weekly Sunday show. And so we're going to be nerding out on a lot of stuff this evening, with both the Lombardia Trophy. We'll talk about dance as well, and then also with the Junior Grand Prix in Bangkok. And I'm sure there will be some Chinese Nebelhorn talk in this podcast as well. So come join us, and we'll talk to you soon.